101 Secrets for Your Twenties by Paul Angone is a funny, heartfelt, and sharply observant book that speaks directly to the chaotic, confusing, and often lonely decade that is your twenties. With his signature wit and big brother tone, Angone doesn't give readers a blueprint to life, he gives them a flashlight. The book isn't about having it all figured out, it's about embracing the mess, finding your voice, and laughing at the absurdity of trying to adult when you still feel like a teenager wearing an oversized suit. From the very beginning, Angone makes one thing clear: your 20s will not look the way you imagined. You might have thought you'd graduate, land a dream job, fall in love, and have your life mapped out by 25. Instead, you're more likely to be questioning your degree, bouncing between temp jobs, and wondering why your fridge contains nothing but almond milk and a single rotting tomato. Angone leans into that disillusionment, not to make fun of it, but to validate it. He wants you to know that you're not the only one feeling lost. Angone's approach is deeply personal, blending humor, metaphor, and storytelling to deliver his secrets. One of his most memorable insights is that your 20s are less about finding the answers and more about learning how to live with the questions. He compares this phase of life to a GPS constantly recalculating the route, only your system is emotional, mental, and spiritual. It's okay to not know where you're going yet. What matters is that you're still moving. A central theme of the book is the expectation gap, the difference between what we thought life would be and what it actually is. Angone says this gap is where disappointment thrives. We enter adulthood armed with expectations shaped by media, parents, and our own naive optimism. But when reality hits, when we're broke, single, overworked, or creatively unfulfilled, we feel like failures. Angone reframes this not as personal failure but as a universal rite of passage. Everyone goes through it, the key is to stop comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. Angone speaks with honesty about failure, not as something to avoid, but as something to learn from. He argues that your 20s are a time to try, fail, and then try again. He shares stories of his own rejection letters, lost opportunities, and embarrassing detours. He doesn't glamorize the grind, but he encourages readers to embrace it. Growth, he says, doesn't come from success alone, it comes from sitting in the ashes of your disappointment and daring to build something new. Relationships, both romantic and platonic, get a lot of attention in the book. Angone understands that your 20s can feel like a revolving door of people coming and going. Friendships shift, break, or fade. Dating is awkward, intense, and sometimes heartbreaking. He encourages readers to be intentional in choosing who they surround themselves with, because who you're becoming is often shaped by who you're walking beside. He also points out that you might not meet the one in your 20s, and that's not a tragedy, it's just your path. Another key message of the book is that you're not behind. Angone says this myth of being behind in life is one of the most toxic lies young adults believe. Whether it's your job, your relationship status, or your savings account, it's easy to feel like everyone else has it together and you don't. He reminds you that timelines are artificial and that growth doesn't always happen in a straight line. The goal isn't to reach some magical checkpoint. It's to become the kind of person who can handle whatever comes next. Career confusion is another major topic, and Angone doesn't pretend there's one right path. Instead, he talks about how important it is to find work that feels meaningful, even if it's not your dream job right away. He encourages experimentation, persistence, and humility. Sometimes you take a job to pay the bills while you figure out what lights you up. And that's okay. He stresses the importance of showing up, being excellent in small things, and letting that excellence shape bigger opportunities. Angone is also unafraid to talk about faith, purpose, and deeper questions. He writes about the spiritual vacuum many people feel after leaving college or their childhood home. When structure disappears, identity often wobbles. He doesn't push a specific religion, but he does urge readers to seek meaning beyond likes, titles, or money. Purpose, he says, is the fuel that keeps you going when your tank feels empty. It might not be fully formed yet, but pursuing it, even imperfectly, matters more than you think. Throughout the book, Angone uses humor as both a balm and a battle cry. His analogies are memorable and absurd, in the best way. He compares life to a game of Mario Kart where everyone's dodging banana peels and throwing turtle shells, but no one really knows who's winning. He makes you laugh at your own confusion, not to mock it, but to lighten its weight. This levity makes the heavier truths easier to absorb and carry forward. He also emphasizes the importance of taking ownership. While life in your 20s can feel disorienting, Angone insists that blaming your circumstances won't get you anywhere. Growth begins when you start owning your choices, even the bad ones. He doesn't say this to guilt you, but to empower you. When you stop waiting for someone to rescue you, you realize you have more control than you thought. Your 20s might not be easy, but they are yours. Toward the end of the book, Angone focuses on self-worth. He acknowledges the deep insecurities that so many young adults carry, not being enough, not doing enough, not having enough. He encourages readers to reject the toxic inner voice that says they're failing, and instead to speak to themselves with the same kindness they'd offer a friend. The journey to adulthood is less about arriving and more about learning to be okay with where you are. One of the most touching messages in the book is that you're not alone. Angone reminds readers that everyone is struggling with something. Behind every curated social media post is a person wondering if they're doing life right. He encourages open, honest conversations with others, because vulnerability is what turns acquaintances into real friends. When you admit you're lost, you give someone else permission to say, "Me too." In the closing pages, Angone circles back to hope. He says that while your 20s can be full of uncertainty, they also hold incredible potential. This is the decade where you'll stretch, stumble, rise, and begin to discover who you really are. You won't do it perfectly, and you're not supposed to. But if you stay curious, stay kind, and stay in the game, you'll come out the other side stronger, wiser, and more grounded than you ever thought possible. Ultimately, 101 Secrets for Your 20s is not a step-by-step guide to success, it's a companion for the journey. Paul Angone is that funny, wise friend who sits beside you on the messy couch of life, hands you a coffee, and says, "It's okay. Let's figure this out together." His book doesn't give you all the answers, but it gives you the courage to ask better questions, and to trust that the answers will come in their own time.